Hey everyone, this is DJ, and if you listen to the show, you know how much we love Jupiña. The pineapple soda is refreshing and sweet, and Jupiña goes great with everything from a medianoche to a hot dog to even a rum or vodka. Whether diet or regular, Jupiña has been part of our heritage for over 120 years. From watching our abuelos drink Jupiña at every get-together to introducing the next generation to its distinctive taste, Jupiña is practically part of the familia, como un Juprimo maybe. Así, next time that you need a cool, refreshing beverage, grab that distinctive orange can of Jupiña. After all, only Jupiña tiene puro sabor a piña. This is DJ.
And this is Ish.
And this is
Season 6 of Pero Let Me Tell You. Hola, mi gente. All right, Ish here with DJ, and today we are coming from, some people say it's Disney World, but I'm going to say that today we were at one of the happiest places on earth. We are at the Jupiña factory. All right, guys. Yes, it exists. It's not some mythical thing like a unicorn. It's real. And we are here with Alex Garcia, who is one of the co-owners of Gawi Bottling Company, which is the company that owns Jupiña, Materva. I'm trying to think of the other ones because I'm actually right now on a Jupiña caffeine high because we just had so much of it. But thank you so much for joining us, man. This is, without exaggeration, one of the most fun times we've had with this show so far.
No, thank you guys for reaching out to me. I think I was playing hardball or something. That you guys kept throwing me little curveballs, and I was like, yeah.
It's okay.
But you know what? It's a good thing. It's fun to have this, and
eventually te enamoramos.
Exactly.
But, as we were talking earlier, there was a whole pandemic in the way where kind of the world stopped for 2 years. So,
that too.
We're picking up in 2019. It's 2019.
It's part 2. The sequel. Yes.
Part 2.
Yes. So, as we're sitting here and literally looking out the window of your office at just this rows of cans going on a conveyor belt. Honestly, it should be a meme because it's wonderful. Give us a little bit of the history of Gawi. How did it start? I know you were telling us earlier that the company's been here for about, 60 years?
Next year we'll celebrate 60 years.
Wow, that's crazy. But how did it start? Where did the idea come from? We're going to make these, we're going to create this company. We're going to be carbonated beverages and we're going to be something different. Because you didn't, you're not just cola. Right. You're something very specific to our culture, really.
Yeah. Well, it all really began... Actually, there were originally 4 owners. Mm-hmm. 2 of them worked at one of the plants. One of them owned 2 of the plants. So you have to understand, in Cuba, mm-hmm. You had Gawi was its own company.
Okay.
Materva was its own company. And Jupiña was its own company.
Oh.
So there were 3 different soft drinks, Coke and Pepsi. But that's how it really started out in Cuba. My father left Cuba in 1953.
Okay.
Went to study English at the University of Alabama. He was about 30 years old. And eventually ended up in New Jersey. And in New Jersey, he basically did everything. He owned dry cleaners. And then eventually what he came into was being a distributor. He used to do the Reader's Digest in Spanish, anything that he could get his hands on to sell it to the Hispanic community that was slowly growing in New Jersey. While doing that, he met one of his lifelong friends. And doing the distributorship and all that stuff, he found out that his partner, a relative of his, knew one of the owners of Gawi and says, hey, I need some money. Can we help, bring them to the United States? So my dad and his best friend, his partner, were actually investors in the concept of Cuba when they actually brought the 3rd partner over. Okay. The 4th partner came in, and then they all started kind of developing the concept of what Gawi is today. During that whole process, he unfortunately passed away. And it ended up just being 3 owners. Mm-hmm. So my dad and his best friend, B. Albas, mm-hmm. invested in this company because the Cosillo, who was the one that used to own a factory in Cuba, had the know-how.
Okay.
So
All right.
it kind of developed from somebody that knew about it and my dad and his partner as investors. And it actually started with $10,000.
Wow.
So $10,000 each.
And
At the time, in the
that's
that was a lot of money.
in 1963.
So
60.
actually, that's what I was going to ask you. So when they decide to invest and bring Kawi stateside, this was post-revolution?
64, yeah, because
this
the whole thing with Cuba started in the early 60s.
Yeah, 59, December 59.
Exactly.
But still early days.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
right.
yeah, they were able to get out of there quick, and
Well,
and,
the getting was good.
right. So actually, that I'm really happy you said that, because I think that drinks like Maderba and Jupiña, they're just so part of the culture, and we know it since we're born, that we don't maybe know the origin story of these things that are like iconic within the community. So Maderba then had been in Cuba for whatever amount of time, and Jupiña as well.
Maderba celebrated about a year or 2 years ago their 100th anniversary.
Wow.
Jeez.
Jupiña is also in the early 20s.
Right.
So, those were two iconic brands that you would see all throughout. There's a video of the Benny Moré orchestra, and you have the band leaders or the band members with this signage that says Jupiña on it, playing at a cabaret in Cuba.
Right.
So, that really is how everybody kind of sees Maderba and Jupiña.
Right.
As I started kind of really getting involved in the last 15 years in the company as a second generation, we're all now the owners. My father, next week, will actually celebrate 8 years of his passing. But I've been involved in the company for well over 15 years now.
Right.
And it's already kind of gone into the next generation. So we're just picking up where our parents left off. There's a picture right over there of the other two partners next to one of our trucks. I've now started seeing images of Kawi, Maderba, Jupiña from Cuba. On my Instagram, somebody once sent me a picture of an airplane, and it had Kawi on the airplane. And I posted it because it was an iconic photo. And
It's
I
historical,
thought, somebody reached out to me and they said, that was my aunt's daughter. So it brings back a lot of joy, a lot of memories.
Mm-hmm.
And really, that's really what we've wanted to be here, is just genuine to our culture, genuine to who we are within the Latin community. And
So-
that's what made us strive.
Well, with that, I wanted to touch base with the fact that, the soda market, the pop market, as they say in the Midwest, is such a competitive market. And I mean, there's just so much of it. And you guys have stayed very, not only true to you are, but you really haven't changed much.
I was just thinking about that. Like, even the logo.
The
Where
logo.
you see nowadays, everybody's like, we got to refresh the logo. We got to update the logo. It's like, no, you guys are like, this
It's
works.
exactly as I remember when I was a kid, the Maderba one especially. Do you ever feel any pressure to maybe, I don't want to use the word modernize because your product is doing very
It's
well, so
iconic
it
at this
doesn't
point,
need to any change. But do you ever feel the pressure to maybe change it up a bit or?
We have, and we're actually looking at what needs to be done. Whether it's a little bit of a paint job and freshening it up and making it look a little bit more modern. But no, we definitely are looking at what we need to do to stay relevant within the community, relevant to the new generation that is being introduced by their parents, their grandparents. How do we stay current to the modern day soft drinks and some of the other things that you can see here in the marketplace. So we are definitely looking at changing things up. I can't really divulge, but we are looking to reinvent one.
I have a funny story for you that I think you would enjoy. So I have a 9-year-old, and he, we don't drink root beer. We just don't. I say, nosotros somos cubanos, no somos americanos, we don't drink root beer. And he had tried the A&W thing, the cream soda, and he didn't like it, just like I didn't like it. And some time ago, we had some Maderba, and I was like, look, why don't you try it? And the best. I know it's not root beer, but I was like, I don't know. It's sort of similar to root beer, but it's not. I couldn't explain it to him because it's yerba
Yerba mate.
How do you explain that to a
28-year-old? Yeah.
Right. And he tried it and he liked it. And I was like, see, you're Cuban.
We don't do root beer. We do mate herba.
We do mate herba.
Yes. People have said to us it tastes a little bit like a cream soda, or even like a ginger, like a bitter ginger type of ginger beer almost. But yeah, it's very unique because it is a natural tea that in South America, in Paraguay, Uruguay, Argentina, they drink it hot.
Yeah.
And we basically have used that type of concept and made it into a refreshing soft drink, that Cubans came to know and love.
Yeah. Is there, I mean, I imagine that you must see this from time to time. Does it surprise you some parts of maybe the world where you've had an outreach in that have your product?
So we are very much connected, or you can find us hard, but you can find us in a lot of the bigger Latin communities: New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Chicago. California has really skyrocketed in the last year. We partnered with a company out there that comes once a month, picks up a truckload and starts distributing it to the bodegas, los supermercados out there in the.
I can tell you that you're in the Blue Ridge Mountains because there's one Cuban spot that I go to and they've got Jupiña and Diet Jupiña.
So in addition to that, there's a company in Montreal that I guess what we're now seeing is how the Cuban culture, or not so much a Cuban culture, the Latin culture of food, whether it's Cuban food or Peruvian food, things like that, is now starting to be, now it's trendy.
Yeah.
And this gentleman has a truck. He comes down. He picks up at our place. He picks up at Goya. He picks up anything Cuban and takes it up to the Canada.
Wow.
I've seen photos on Instagram of our stuff in like a supermarket at a train station in Ireland.
See, that's what the one that
is so weird and interesting.
Yes, that one is fascinating.
And then it's like, how did he buy it? Because I don't know about it, And again, it's hard when you have distributorships,
right? And
you don't know how they continue to extend the arm,
right?
We, in addition to having our network of distributors and us selling directly in the community, we also sell through our website. The other day I got an email, somebody in Nebraska. Kid you not, Nebraska. I can't find it. It says, well, unfortunately,
you're in Nebraska.
You've got one of two options, like an Amazon, and see if they can deliver it, or you can buy it from us and we ship it to them, FedEx or UPS. So they're buying a $10 case of refresco and paying $20, but they're buying it.
Yeah.
I didn't see any today, but I mean, you can, on any given day, there's probably about 4 or 5 cases of online orders that are waiting to get picked up and delivered.
But that makes sense to me, and it's not because you're here in front of us. It's not because we're kissing your ass. But there is a competitor, and it is not the same. Jupiña is Jupiña is Jupiña, and a mí nadie me va a quitar. You know what I mean? Like we were talking about this, you and I actually. It's not like Coke, Pepsi, where it's like they kind of taste the same, but there's a little difference. No, Jupiña has a very unique taste, and there's no substitute. Sorry, it's just that's how it is.
I look at it from a different aspect. It's Cuban. We have to respect that. Mm-hmm. There's enough for all of us to eat off the same plate. Now, the cynic in me, when I see photos on Instagram and I'm seeing Mate Herba, Jupiña, and the competition, I wonder if I should just chime in and say 2 out of 3 ain't bad. But
see, the assholes in us say yes, you should.
Well, but I don't want to use the Kawi Instagram page to create an Instagram one. No, there's a lot of respect in that aspect because they did the same thing that we did. Right. They came with nothing. Right. They started with nothing. They've tried to copy us because they do make a spin-off of Jupiña and Mate Herba. But again, what really sells is the quality, the flavor, everything that we put into. So I'm okay with seeing my product next to theirs because, it's a Cuban thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, if I saw another type of country that wanted to reinvent us, then gloves are off.
Then the Instagram you would reply.
Oh yeah,
okay, all right,
and get my attorneys involved.
That's noble. That's noble, and that's fair. It's just again, I'm glad we're having this conversation because these are things that one of the things we talk here on our podcast is that you don't know. Especially when you're younger, you don't really know the culture. You don't know that everything around you is your culture. Mm-hmm. And such a staple like, again, mateba and jupiña, that you just have it at home. You don't really think about it. And you realize how significant it is and how seeing like that logo or that bottle, especially when you're far away from home, like you said, in Blue Ridge, you don't expect that to be there. And there it is.
It brings joy.
And you feel like you're home, even if you're at a cafe having...
in Ireland. in Ireland waiting for a train.
that one is like, wow.
Well, you look at that. I have a very good friend of mine from high school that she's a teacher in Texas. So she's very Southern. And she one day was happening to go through Southern Living magazine. And she sent me a text. And she had a picture of the magazine. And they're talking about the food culture in Atlanta. And the shot was of different types of Cuban food. And I think even... Puerto Rican and Jamaican food, but they had a picture of a mateba. So she saw it in a magazine.
Right.
She sends me a picture via text, and I'm like, can you take that shot again so I don't see your thigh? Because it's going on our Instagram page. And I posted it. And again, it's, they didn't ask us, and I'm okay with it because it's really bringing out who we are as Cubans.
Yeah.
First and foremost. Another thing, during the pandemic, Warner Brothers reached out to us and says, hey, we're doing a movie and we'd like to feature your product. And I was like, we get these requests, haphazardly, but we get them every once in a while. Or we want to do a video where, the latest reggaetero and this and that. So I'm very cautious as to how I really want to position ourselves from that aspect. But when I saw Warner Brothers, I said, okay, seems legit. Let's continue. Oh, no, it's for this movie. That's all they had to tell me. What do you need? How much do you want? And we sent them, they wanted gawi, jupiña, mateba. We had actually run out of gawi, so we couldn't give them gawi. But we sent them mateba, jupiña, and watermelon. And this was during the middle of the pandemic. So it's like, it started, it stopped, it started, it stopped. The funny thing is, my wife's brother is a voice actor. And he does a lot of voiceover, or what they call looping. Mm-hmm. And he actually was working on the movie. So he sends me a text, and he sends me a picture, and he goes, look at this. And he goes, you got to do me a favor. You can't say anything or do anything, because it obviously would jeopardize the whole scene of it. But he sends me the picture of the movie where Andy Garcia is at Domino Park.
Oh, this was Father of the Bride.
Father of the Bride. Yes. And he's got the two shots of the mateba and the jupiña on the corner of the domino table. I thought that was only going to be it. Here comes the movie. And I couldn't say anything. I mean, I said to my family and I said to my partners, hey, when HBO Max puts out this movie,
we're in it. Yeah.
We got to turn on the TV. And I was shocked at a couple things. One of the things that he mentions, it really talks about our Cuban culture. And I was talking to you about this before the podcast, was we came with nothing. And that's one of the words or one of the phrases that he used at the beginning of the movie, is that here we are, Cubans, coming to America, almost like Eddie Murphy.
Like Eddie Murphy, yeah.
Eddie Murphy. And, vinimos sin nada. Mm-hmm. And we assimilated. We dug into the community. We contributed to the community in ways that make us as Cubans, Latinos, hey, this is something that really looks good for this community, where Miami is a mishmash. You have Puerto Ricans, you have Nicaraguans, you have Peruvians, you now have Costa Ricans, you have, a myriad of nationalities, and here we are. And the Cuban culture and Cuban community is what everybody kind of
defaults, really.
stands out as.
Yeah.
Because we made it so that all these other nationalities can come here and thrive. So that was one of those things that that really hit me when I saw the movie. Part of the rest of the movie is at the beginning of the scene where the daughter who's coming to get married, she comes home, like mama, papa,
Right.
first thing she goes into the refrigerator and pulls out a mateba and starts drinking it. So it's like,
And where's
It
the
was
lie
like-
in any of that? That's all
No,
like
it's- yeah,
100% legit.
and it was 3 or 4 scenes like that just made it look genuine.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was glad that I jumped on it when they approached us. They didn't ask us for any money. We care because you know what? At the end of the day, it's free advertising in the sense that es más el respeto de la cultura and how they presented it that mattered to me the most.
But that also speaks to, I think, a little bit of what we've been saying here, in a roundabout way, of the authenticity of the brands, right? That of the Jupiñas, the Materbas, etc. That it does represent the culture in a very, positive way, in a very instinctive, iconic, shorthand for those. Like, if you know, and it communicates a lot with just the can.
Right.
And not many brands can do that instinctively, you guys, I would say, like, if I'm watching anything and it's like there's a can of, Bustelo or La Llave, automatically my mind is like, I know what that is. I know what this household is. I know what they're all about. And not all brands can do that.
Yeah.
You guys can.
Right.
Yeah.
You
It
know,
means something.
It means it does.
It
It
means
means something. Your brands
Yeah.
mean something, and that's not everybody can touch a heart and be part of people's memories in the way that you guys have. So,
Right.
kudos for that.
Yes. And you start seeing different ways of showcasing the culture. There's an artist named Tony Mendoza.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Does
We've had him on the show.
Very much pop culture and
Mm-hmm.
loves to bring out that type of, Cubanism, if you want to create that term. And he made a painting. It says Cuban American. And it's a can of Mateba and a can of Coca-Cola.
Yep.
And you couldn't get any more Cuban American than
That's
something-
one of those things that it's more than the sum of its parts. You
Right.
know, 2 sodas, and it means so much.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's so representative of a whole thing. And it's funny because I remember when I was a kid, this was in the 80s, a commercial they had for Materba that was, si maneja, no tome. Y si tome Materba. Es refrescante, something, y estomacal.
And how long ago was that commercial?
That was in the 80s.
And it is still front and center,
Yeah.
living rent free in both of our heads.
It's right there on the lid.
That's right.
It
Drink
hasn't
my-
changed.
Yeah.
Everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody who's Cuban knows it. So
Si maneja, no tome.
Have you found, again, as we talk about brands, evolving and growing, with social media becoming such a big part of just life, have you found that has kind of, I'm trying to think how to phrase it, but contributed to that feeling of like community that people have around, the Jupiña, the Materba, in the sense that it's like, oh my God, remember this? Whereas before, if you were Cuban, you knew it, but you knew it in your block, in your neighborhood, in your city. Whereas I think now, maybe there's that potential to share it globally. There's that, you can feel that love a little bit more. Have you found that to be the case?
You do, because, sometimes you see a photo of our product and they're not tagging us. But what I'm doing is following certain keywords.
Right.
Cuban, Miami, maybe Jupiña, maybe Materba, maybe Melon. And what I want to capture more is the authenticity of, hey, I'm in Alabama.
Right.
And I'm on the seafront in Mobile, Alabama. And I know this because my niece lives in just outside of Mobile, Alabama. She's got a Publix. And Publix carries it. I have a friend from high school that when she would come down from Virginia to come down to visit her parents, she'd call me up and, they'd take the auto train. So they're taking the train to Miami, to Sanford, driving from Sanford here. And then she goes, hey, can I take back some soft drinks? And I'm like, absolutely. What do you want? How much?
Right.
And I'll take them to your mom's house.
Right.
So that she can then enjoy it. She sent me a picture when the Publix outside of Tyson's Virginia opened up. She had a Jupiña there.
That's awesome.
So now, that distribution of supermarkets and people wanting the ethnic aisle, not just, everyday
the standard
yeah.
pop.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of exposure, we have told you this, but I want to say it now again in the interview. We're big fans of your product, obviously, as stated in most of our episodes, especially in our first 2 or 3 seasons.
And by the time this airs, listeners, you'll have seen the Instagram post, so you will know.
So we're going to start now season 6. In our 4th season, before the Marlins Park got their the name Lone Depot, we said, jokingly but not jokingly, we were like, Jupiña should, at that time it was a Marlins Park. We were like, Jupiña should buy the naming rights of Marlins Park. Like, what else would it be other than Jupiña Ballpark? And then I think it was literally the next week.
The next day. They announced Lone Depot Park.
Lone Depot Park. And we're like, okay, that's
listening.
really weird.
It's creepy.
And then this year, 2022, when the whole FTX thing crumbled.
Yeah.
And we saw that crumbled. We immediately jumped on that idea again. We put the whole thing of putting the pineapple on the stadium, the Heat Stadium, and we got it sort of went viral, and we got a lot of feedback on that. I'm just saying, this week,
Jupiña Arena,
this week, they just ruled that the stadium doesn't have a name.
Right.
So I think it will be a good opportunity for you guys, because I will pay good money to hear these sportscasters be like, "We're here at Jupiña Stadium, Jupiña Arena."
They're gonna definitely have to get some Latino announcers so that they can get it right.
They still have the pineapple from Bongos there, so there's some integration. Yeah,
we're halfway there. I mean, who knows? Maybe we can do a GoFundMe or something.
I mean, as I said in the Instagram post, you imagine how beautiful it will be flying into Miami and seeing that enormous pineapple on the roof of the
AAA or whatever. I'm still calling it the AAA.
The blank arena.
The arena is what it's called.
So when that post that you guys did came out, and I posted it on my Instagram page, and obviously, it's more of a crossfeed. But my partner saw it, and se le prendió el bombillo at one of my partners. Says, "Why don't we do that on the roof of our building?"
Okay,
we inspired that.
Yes. Yes. So the day that we break the Jupiña over the building to inaugurate, you guys will be front and center.
I love it.
I love it.
But I mean, we are actually on the approach.
Yeah.
To Miami International
The airport's right there.
So,
yeah.
While somebody is flying into Miami, why not put that logo up there? It's our building.
Listen, start the craving while they're in the sky.
And what says Miami more than Jupiña?
The Jupiña. I'd be hard pressed to think of anything else, quite honestly.
So that has really kind of, se aprendió el bombillo, and everybody's now all of a sudden, hey, that's not a bad idea. All we need to do is paint it white and then put the logo on it.
Yeah.
And I just want to say that we were the first, because
I will give you guys the credit once it happens.
No, because once we posted that, then 2 or 3 days later, people started doing Flanagan's Arena and all that. I'm like, no.
We were one of the first kids.
Arena.
So no, definitely. I will make it a point that if we ever inaugurate the roof of our building,
that's awesome.
Jupiña,
listen, I'm glad
we'll do the little string attached to the can so it hits the building.
Listen, when that happens, we could probably say we're part of the Jupiña history.
Yes, we're part of the Kawi history. Yes.
I mean, our work here is done.
That's it. We can pack up and go home. We're done.
We can finish the podcast. Right. That's it.
It's a wrap.
But Alex, again, thank you so much. Not just for giving us your time, but for letting us play in the factory earlier today,
like little kids.
We were little kids. It was.
You know what? I'm gonna have to look at the security camera footage.
I prefer you didn't. Quite honestly, I don't know what you're gonna find there. But more than that, I just want to thank you and your partners and your family for all the memories and everything that you guys didn't know you were creating for all of us that's associated with your brands. Because, again, as I said earlier, not every brand can be iconic, and you guys have been, but you've done it by being authentic and just being part of the culture in a very, very, very meaningful way. So, on behalf of myself, Darian, and our listeners, and anybody who loves Jupiña, I just want to say thank you for that. Because that does mean a lot to us as now you've got, a son that you're kind of passing that down. I know it sounds a little cheesy, but it's just true. Like, that becomes part of the culture and our shared experience. So thank you.
No, thank you guys. And we have to give thanks to who kind of put us together. Burger Beast and
we gotta thank that guy too.
Yeah. Chef again. Give him 10 cents.
I get 9 back. Okay,
exactly. But actually, it is, and I think what really kind of switched the turned on the switch was more so that little thing with the arena, and it's like, you know what? We really have to do something. Let's really start kind of putting our heads together. How can we make ourselves relevant to the community that you guys reach out to by the podcast? You guys are contributing also to everything that is Cuban. So por eso we have to, work with each other in a way that really makes both of ourselves shine in a way that our community will be proud of us down the road.
Perfectly said. Perfectly said.
So, thanks again, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pero Let Me Tell You is co-hosted by Darian Borges and Ismaeliano, produced by Ismaeliano, and our theme, Pero Let Me Tell You Freestyle, is composed by Michael Angelo Lomlaplex, the official gay guy. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes.